On behalf of the Professional Baseball Strength and Conditioning Coaches Society, I'd like to welcome you to the PBSCCS Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Messina. All right, everybody, today's episode of the podcast is going to be another group episode. I'll have the guys introduce themselves and we'll get going. So we'll go Nate first, Donny second, just name, org, position in the org, and then we'll get rocking, guys.
Yeah, right away, I just want to say, appreciate you having me on. Thank you so much. I know I was listening to this podcast last year when I was trying to crack in as a first-year coach and listening to the first-year group. That was something that really kind of kick-started things, and it's kind of crazy that a year later now I get to be the one in the chair. So like Chris mentioned, my name is Nate Kolb. I'm from a small town outside of Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. If you spend any time in the Northwest League, I hope you would know about Vancouver. I just finished my first season with the Arizona Diamondbacks. I was in the Complex League this year.
Awesome. Just retweet exactly what Nate said. I've been listening to the podcast for a couple of years now, and Chris, like, you do a great job with everything with it, and it definitely gives us current staff members, and then obviously people could try and get into the league or just trying to find out more information. A great resource to have. But I'm Donny Gress. I'm with the Boston Red Sox. I worked with our minor league affiliate in Greenville, South Carolina, our high A affiliate.
So you guys, you have alluded to it already, but the theme tonight is just going to be first year in pro ball. I did this last year. The feedback was really good. And I think it's something that I should do every year. I was telling you guys before we started here, like when I first got in, I had way less responsibilities than what you guys have now. And just kind of tracking what first year coaches are expected to do over the years, I think will be cool. And then just being able to see you guys, individually grow over the next 5-10 years, and maybe you stay in pro ball, maybe you don't, but it'll just be good to kind of follow your path too. And so just kicking it off, just talk about your journey to your current position, and then any specific reason that you chose professional baseball, or it just kind of worked out, to fall in your lap. I think we'll go probably Nate first again, and then Donny, and we'll just kind of roll from there.
Yeah, sure. The journey was pretty simple. I was kind of always around baseball. I played baseball growing up, and I was fortunate enough to play in college. Towards the end of my career, my own personal playing career started to fizzle out a little bit, and I started to realize that I liked training a lot more than I liked playing. So it was really a natural progression moving into life after baseball while still staying in baseball, if that makes sense, to be involved with the performance side of things. Once I quit playing, I immediately started coaching. I was a volunteer assistant at the college I was at. I was also a strength and conditioning intern at a private facility in Bismarck, North Dakota. I was there for about a year. I had numerous different opportunities that were given to me at that internship that eventually led me, I guess, to taking this job with the Diamondbacks for this year.
Okay. My journey has been kind of crazy. I actually went into college wanting to be an athletic trainer, but also did play college ball for a year, but I went into college with a torn labrum in my throwing shoulder. So after my freshman year, had surgery, and then on the comeback tour, I realized that as much as I love the athletic training room and the benefits that it has for everybody, like the performance aspect and strength and conditioning was where my heart truly lied and where I wanted to be and where I saw myself in the future. So I made that route. So I interned with our strength coach while I was still there. At the time, I was a student assistant coach with our baseball team, my undergrad. Interned with our strength coach, and then I also was a student athletic trainer too at the same time. So kind of balanced a lot. Knew I wanted to be a part of the game and coach, and especially along the performance side. So I had the opportunity to go coach in the Cape Cod Baseball League. That summer job as a bullpen catcher and the strength coach ended up turning into 4 consecutive summers I was up there. From 2016 to 2019 with the Harwich Mariners. After that, went to grad school, University of Kentucky for exercise physiology. got my degree there while working a graduate assistantship for human resources. So I got to work with just general population people and their health and wellness portion. And then after that, worked with the Kentucky Olympic strength staff, started as an intern there, and then moved over into a coaching assistant role, working with baseball, softball, gymnastics, and stunt. And then now landed here with the Red Sox. Couldn't be happier.
Sucko. So it sounds like both of you guys obviously have been around the game for a long time. The training aspect was really intriguing to you guys. I felt the same way. I played and I was okay, but I just love the weight room more. And I had always wanted to find a way to stick around the game. So I had done the same thing. I coached like JV baseball when I was in undergrad, you know what I mean? Just trying to be around the game. And I think that aspect of it helped me a lot, right? Not just the strength and conditioning, but also the baseball side of things. And you guys both kind of mentioned that. Do you think that those past experiences kind of helped you in professional baseball, or is the game, the pro ball game, totally different than what you expected based on previous experiences?
I think it's helped to a degree. Obviously, it's a different beast, college and professional, but just having that knowledge background, knowing the specific jargon a little bit, coming in, knowing what feel meant and what feel was, I think was probably pretty huge. So I think there's give and take to both. It's obviously very different, but for me anyways, having a little bit of a background, playing beforehand and being around, I guess, higher level, yeah, that kind of, it helped a little bit with my first year for sure.
No, yeah, it definitely helped ease the waters, and just being able to relate to the guys more. I mean, my undergrad though was D3, and then comparing it to, I worked with a Power 5 SEC school and now professional baseball. It's like having those three different viewpoints. There's a lot in each different level, just from resources standpoints and opportunities you have. But at the end of the day, it's still the same game. The guys are out there just competing and working hard, and our goal is to help keep them on the field and competing and doing everything that they're doing. So it's been fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you'll see even within the pro ball setting as you guys move up, or you know, if you stick around, like each level presents its own unique challenges as well, right? Like I was the same, Donny. I coached JV baseball at a small high school. I played D3 baseball. Like I was a GA at a really good D3, and then I interned at a really good D1, and then I came to pro ball. And like each one has its own challenges, and like each one is kind of unique, but at the same time, like it is still baseball. Like you can see the guys that really love playing. You can see, you know, how they push themselves and they just want to get better all the time, even all the way up to the big league level. Like again, there's unique challenges along the way, but at the same time, like it is still baseball. It is still guys like trying to win, trying to compete. So it seems like it was good for both of you guys to be able to speak the language. And Nate, you alluded to having feel. Like that's one of the biggest things in professional baseball is like, if you can come in and you know what feel is and you have a sense of like what the guys are doing and how the game works, like it just puts you light years ahead right away. So it's good that you guys have that. Do you have any advice for others that want to get in, maybe, you know, in terms of like the path to take or the certs to get or the experience to get? Like, is there any advice for the listeners?
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest thing and one of the lessons I learned from one of my mentors at the internship I was at was to be more so focused with where you're currently at, right? Like the strength and conditioning world is pretty small. The professional baseball strength and conditioning community is even smaller. Everybody's got connections everywhere. It's easy to go out and chase certs and letters behind your name and all the alphabet soup that we like to throw out. But at the end of the day, connections can take you so much further. And that's something that really helped me, I guess, land this first career and has continued to help me as I make connections. I'm currently taking the PRI course, and just being able to talk with everybody on our staff beforehand, before going into MyoKin, and just kind of having conversations with people in-house has helped me to get more out of the certification or course before I've started taking it, if that makes sense. So just, I guess, being present would be my biggest advice for anybody. That's something that was passed on to me and something I definitely need to pass on to, I guess, people that I could possibly be mentoring.
Yeah, that's a really good one. I think the biggest piece of advice is just keep knocking at opportunities. Just keep trying and and keep knocking on doors. And sometimes the door may not open, but there's going to be another door that opens up somewhere else down the road, and everything's going to happen for a reason. And the energy and effort that you put into yourself to keep growing and keep learning, it's going to show. And the people who bring you on staff, they're going to see that, and they're going to want you to keep not only growing yourself, but continue to grow the staff as well. Again, I learned a lot from On Base U, but also at the same time, there's so many different avenues you can go down just to keep growing and developing yourself. It's being able to take bits and pieces from it all and then putting it all together to kind of help make you who you are and what you're able to do and hire to help the athletes.
Yeah, right on, guys. Both really good. And then to Nate's point, I just want to make sure we hit this. Like you mentioned the pro strength and conditioning community is really small, and it really is, man. Like we tell our staff all the time, and we had, the assistants this year for the first time. Like, you come here, you get your experience, and between Kiyoshi and myself and Kirby and Ben and Jeff, like all the guys on our staff, Joe, like the guys that have been around a long time, they're all connected to different people, either within the game or outside the game. And now that we've finished our first year with our assistants, we're trying to get them full-time spots in other places. And I'm talking to coordinators, hey, I got this guy, he's good, I got this guy good, and we're just trying to push them out, man. And you never know. Like you said, I think sometimes people chase the logo, or they chase like that big dream job, and they get stuck with their head in the clouds, and they forget that they have to work where they're at. And that kind of leads to Donnie's point, is like, if you put in the effort and the energy to make yourself better and to make those around you better, like people take notice of that and they want you around, right? So being present where you're at and having an idea of your future, but not missing the point of your present, I think is a really, really good point for both of you guys to bring up. And it just kind of ties together, the path for you guys, right? Like, you did everything that you needed to do to get here, but at the same time, like, you guys are putting in the effort to make yourselves better, make your staff better. Nate, you talk about, talking with your staff on PRI. I know they're all well-versed in it, and you get more out of it because you're interacting with them. And then maybe you see an angle that they hadn't seen because you're fresh, you're new, and you bring it to them. And then it's just constant collaboration. So kudos to you guys. It sounds like you're killing it. And just, I would say the listeners need to take this advice to heart. And really, if you want to get in, like, it's great advice from both of you guys. Let's get in more now to like the actual nitty gritty of the day-to-day and like the actual pro ball setting, right? Because everybody says like, oh, I want to work in pro sports. And then you get your first year and it's like not as glamorous as you think, or the facilities are not as good coming from, a big time D1 like yourself, Donnie. Like, so talk to me about some difficulties that you experienced this year and how you were able to adjust, or maybe not adjust during the day-to-day stuff.
I made the biggest adjustment from day one has been kind of the language barrier with the Spanish and the Spanish speaking players. I know my very first day of spring training, I was working with a player and he was almost in tears because I couldn't get my point across. I didn't know any Spanish. He didn't know any English. Towards the end of the season, we were able to have a full-on conversation in Spanish, which I thought was amazing. But for the language barrier was definitely my hardest challenge. And I think to get past that, overcome it, it was just trying to learn Spanish, having conversations, getting out of my comfort zone, and really pushing to try and make an effort to learn. And I know the players view that with a lot more respect, knowing that I'm trying, because I respect the hell out of them for trying to learn English. I know English isn't an easy language, and there's just a mutual respect when you don't speak the same language. So something that I'm going to keep pushing, keep working on. Hopefully by the time I'm ready to retire, maybe I'll be fluent in another language.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a big one. But then I think for me, just going out in the day-to-day wise, like not knowing what each stadium had, especially when we're going on the road, when it comes to like just space and overall equipment wise, like with the program that we run here, like the guys are with us every single day. So being able to find a space and being able to utilize the resources and utilizing our gym trunk to its maximum capability, and just using that and kind of learning from it. I know there's like a couple of times where we had guys working outside and it was more of like the magic dust like ground covering where like you walked on it and like sprinkles fell up from Asheville, and it's just like it coats everything, but it's you do what you got to do with what you have, and you make do with it, and you just keep pushing on. So I mean, but then you also have facilities who have more room than you can possibly imagine. So it's being able to learn the new parks and learning the new staffs and being able to see everything and see the new places. So
Yeah, and to build on that, like you guys had two different experiences. Like Donnie, you were at the affiliate. Nate, you were in the AZL. So like Nate, you have the facilities all the time that are available to you, and it makes it nice. Where Donnie, you're grinding it out in A-ball, and you just, you never know what it is. And to your point, Donnie, like even, in the big leagues, my first 2 years, like going to new stadiums, going to new cities, I didn't know what they have either. And every big league stadium has to have a visiting weight room, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's good. You know what I mean? Like some of them are really small. Like, to be honest, Fenway's is probably the smallest or one of the smallest that I've seen. And then, you go some places, it's like a huge training facility. When we go to Texas, it's unbelievable. Like, and there's everywhere in between. So I always have a little animosity when we go to a new city where I'm like, I don't know what the layout is. Like, I need to get everything set up. I need to make sure that we have what we have for the guys, this and that. And so I don't know if that's ever going to go away, other than just, experiencing it and understanding that it's always going to work out no matter what. And part of that falls on you, like being creative and getting things done. And then to Nate, your point with the language barrier, I think that's something that everybody goes through. Every non-Spanish speaker goes through something like that their first year in pro ball. I can remember my second year in Portland, I had a Spanish guy. We had a miscommunication because I didn't speak enough Spanish, and he hated me for, I don't know, weeks. He wouldn't even talk to me. And then all the other Latin guys were kind of hesitant around me. And then I made it a point to like learn enough Spanish to talk with him. And after that, we were tight, and the whole group was around me, and they respected that I was trying to learn it. And especially for you being in the AZL, you have some of those young kids that have never been to the States. It's a big culture shock. So it's good that you're willing to understand that they're coming from somewhere else, and you have patience with them, and you're just working with them. Because again, something that seems so simple to you, it's not the same to them. It's just not how they grew up. It's not the culture they're a part of. And being able to understand that, I'm sure, helped you a lot in the AZL. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So how about the best part of the job so far? You don't want to dwell on the difficulties, but it is a great job at the end of the day, right? It's awesome. You're both smiling. I can see it. So what's the best part of the job been for you so far?
My favorite part of the job is just the interactions with the athletes. The two that really come to mind is when they hit some kind of big milestone with their career. We had a kid come up. He just hit 100 miles an hour for the first time during the season, and he was extremely excited. I was excited for him. Then our coordinators come in and let me know that he threw it 3/4 of the way up the backstop, but that doesn't matter so much to me. I'm excited for him because he's hitting that milestone. And then the second favorite part that I absolutely love and look forward to is when guys get called up and they get that chance to move on to our low A affiliate, our high A affiliate, whatever. That hug they give you before they go pack up their bags and hit the road. That's what I live for. That's what gets me out of bed and gets me into the weight room every morning.
Yeah, definitely one of the best parts about the job is just the people and the relationships that you build with the guys and the staff that you have. Like you said, I love having the guys in Greenville, but I also love sending them up to our strength coach in Portland, Joe. So obviously at the end of the day, like where we are with high A, that's not their goal. Their goal is to be with you, Moose, and Yosh up in the Red Sox. So it's just helping be a part of their process and their career path. And at the end of the day, we're just a stepstone, and we're just trying to help them become better versions of themselves. And then another part for me that's really awesome about it is just the places that we've been able to go. Like, I would probably have never been down to the Dominican Republic right now if it wasn't for where I am and this opportunity, but also like went to Jersey Shore, never been there before, like going to Asheville, North Carolina, like seeing these small towns, like got to see the house in Rome, Georgia that Stranger Things was on. So it's like there's little nuances from every town you go to, and you see that, and you just see the people, and especially down here right now, seeing the culture and the way that everything is goes about the business, the food down here, like it is just incredible. So that's definitely a big perk, even though travel at times may be crappy, but at the same time, like getting to where you need to be is pretty cool.
Yeah, my wife is like all about let's travel in the off season, and I'm like, you don't understand. I've been traveling for 7 months. You know what I mean? Like, but I agree with you. Like, I've never been to Seattle, and then this year, you know, one of the big places for me to check off the box is like the Pacific Northwest. I've heard it's awesome, my kind of weather, everything. And last year I had COVID when the team went to Seattle, so I didn't get to go. So this year we went. You know, it was during my birthday, and I had a great time there. It was awesome. So like some of those things that maybe you take for granted because it's like, cool, we're traveling here, we're traveling there. But if you look at it with a different twist and a different perspective, I think it's awesome. Like you get to travel all the time, you see new places. Even my first year, I was in Bristol, Virginia / Tennessee, and like traveling through some of the South and like just seeing some of that stuff that I would have never had a chance to see. And you get it all the way through the system. So that's cool. And then of course the DR thing, like I told you before we start, I've been in pro ball for a while now, and I still haven't been able to go, and you're already there in your first year. So it's cool that you get to go and experience that. And then with Nate, with your points, like in the minor leagues, that was always awesome. Just seeing guys get called up and seeing guys hit things that were meaningful to them, and just keeping them moving on their path, right? Donny, you mentioned it too, just being a stepping stone and being a part of their path and helping them grow. And then, you know, 5 years down the road, some of those kids are going to be in the big leagues, and you're going to see them and have a chance to talk with them and just, hey, dude, remember when you were in A-ball or you were in rookie league and you did this, like, look how much you've grown up. You know, we have some of the guys here that I had in AA, and even my first year in the Pirates, like we played them this year, and one of their pitchers in the big leagues, like catching up with him. Like, hey, do you remember when we were training in the snack stand in Bristol? I'm like, oh yeah, I remember, man. We've come a long way. So you'll always have those memories with those guys, and, you know, being a part of it. And again, sometimes it's the smallest part, but when you go out of your way and you do the right things for the guys, and they can tell that you're genuinely invested in them, like they remember that stuff, and they remember it for years and years and years. And as they move up and you see them, they'll bring it up to you. Hey, do you remember this? Do you remember that? And you'll be able to smile about it, man. So, yeah, that was a long time ago. I'm glad I'm out of A-ball now, but it's awesome that you guys are enjoying it and you're building those relationships and being able to see those guys get those milestones. So, how about just anything that was unexpected, or, you know, you came in and, you know, if you were able to look back and tell yourself a year ago, like, hey, if I know this, it's going to make my job easier, or the next generation of first-year strength coaches, like, is there anything that was unexpected that maybe you can kind of give insight to the next wave of coaches?
Yeah, I kind of came in with no expectations. I kind of was prepared knowing that it was going to be different from college. But I think one thing that really needs to probably be hammered home is understanding that it's not your show, especially in season. You know, I was at a small Division II private school in Bismarck, North Dakota, where we had to develop guys. We couldn't afford to get big arms if we wanted to be competitive. So it was very much our show. Out here, you don't need to do that as much. And understanding the demands in season is a lot different than probably what you're used to coming from private sector or college level. You know, 60 games is a lot different than 80, 100 games, 160 games. And just having expectations of what's realistic in the weight room, and having feel, going back to that word, when you're dealing with guys in season, there's going to be times when they're dog tired. I saw that towards the end of the ACL season. It was like, okay, we probably can back away from some of the stuff I want to get done in the weight room and do what's best for you guys right now.
Yeah, I think unexpected is that I think you have to expect the unexpected. I mean, with us, like managing and coordinating like food arrivals, and then into like getting some of the sports science stuff done, making sure that like force plates, the Nord border, everything's like charged, like just being a forward thinker in that aspect, but also understand that like things can go sideways. And like even this year, like walking into it, like we had an assistant this year, and I've never had an assistant before in my life. So being able to kind of balance the workload and being able to give him responsibilities and to do things. And I know I personally had, like, it was hard for me to let go of things initially and like have him take reins of some stuff, but then I couldn't be more thankful for him and what he was able to do and the relationships he was able to create with the guys, that he was able to balance this out where I was more X's and O's, but he took care of the relationships and took care of the guys and made sure that they brought their best self to us every single day. So I think that was probably the most unexpected thing, was realizing that there's a lot more to our plate than what you initially see.
Yeah, I had this conversation with Ben on our podcast episode just about how people just see the game played, but they don't think about like how you travel to get there, all the preparation that goes into it, all the reporting you have to do, all of the treatment that the athletic trainers do, the cage work, the defensive work. Like there's a lot more that goes into a pro ball day than just showing up and playing the game. And you do it for a long time. Like to Nate's point, it's 80, 100, 140, 160, whatever amount of games, like close to almost 200 games if you include spring training and the playoffs and everything else. And just doing that every single day, I think, like to your point, Donnie, is just, you have to be a forethinker. You have to try to get ahead, but you also have to understand that something is going to go sideways at some point, and you have to like be calm enough to adapt and adjust and not let it speed up on you. And you guys have both mentioned it, but having some feel on when to make good adjustments and good changes, I think goes a long way. And sometimes that's just like, you have to develop that over the years, and you have to experience it, and you have to learn the hard way that something you did was wrong, or you could have made a better choice. And, you guys coming in with a little bit of that ahead of time, I think puts you ahead of the 8 ball and makes your life a little easier than most first year coaches, I would say. But, again, there's just things that like, you don't know what you don't know as you move up and you go to new places and you experience new players and new age ranges. And, as the game changes and our responsibilities change as strength and conditioning coaches, like all of that is just going to be unexpected. And you just have to be prepared for that and understand that at some point there's going to be an adjustment that needs to be made, and that's okay. And from there, you just move on. So last one for me, just, is there anything that we missed, anything that you guys want to hit on before we shut it down, or just, any final words for, any potential coaches that are kind of on the fence about pro ball, just good, bad, and different, anything that you guys got before we close up shop here?
I guess my final thoughts would probably be the importance of communication that goes into this field. We are so big on communication with the Diamondbacks, and it's not just something that you hear in the interview process. It's something that we live and breathe every day, and it's such a cool environment to be a part of. I think back to when I was a skill coach in college, the communication that didn't happen between strength staff, between athletic training, and just the absolute disservice that is to the athletes. So I think for any young coach that is wanting to get into pro baseball specifically, you need to understand that communication is everything, especially when you're at an affiliate and it's you and one athletic trainer. You guys are going to have to be communicating. He's going to probably take some loads off your plate. You're going to take some loads off his plate. And yeah, communication is everything. A lot more than I ever expected.
Yeah, that is definitely a big one. I think the biggest thing too is just continue to expand your knowledge base, like holistically. So obviously know your X's and O's of strength and conditioning, but have the background in the sports science, have a background. Like at the end of the day, like we're more than just strength coaches. Sometimes we're more sports psychologists trying to talk guys off the edge after having a bad outing or a bad couple outings, where it's like we're just trying to bring them back to be neutral and have their feet on the ground again. So you have your hand in the nutrition, you have a hand in a lot of different things. So being able to understand and know the goal is to help these guys get better, and always kind of bring yourself back to that. And just echoing your point, Nate, like the communication with everybody across the board, from coaching staff to coordinators to your assistant in my specific role. It's like being able to just manage it all as much as you can. And obviously it's going to ebb and flow and there's a lot more on your plate, but at the same time, like going back to your point, have a good feel and just keep moving forward and take it day by day. I mean, the season's long, the days are long, the weeks go fast, and you kind of blink your eye and next thing you know, you're in the off season. So it's a fun experience if you have the opportunity to chase it down, and see where it can lead you.
Yeah, I tell everybody, and I've said it a million times on this podcast, like if you have the chance to work pro ball as a strength and conditioning coach, you really should do it. And especially now that there's more on our plates, right? Like you talk about nutrition and sports science and mental skills, and all of that sometimes falls on our plates where, like I said, when I was first year, I didn't have any of that stuff. And as we go, like being able to be well versed in those different areas, like you mentioned, Donnie, I think is huge. And then, the communication aspect, Nate, you bring up, like every single day, it's not just you and your athletic trainer, right? As we have more on our plate as strength and conditioning coaches, as there's more expected of us, you have to be able to communicate with everybody, and everybody has their own kind of style of communication, their own flow, what makes sense, what doesn't. And you really have to understand what makes people tick. You have to know what makes a sports scientist tick, the nutritionist tick, the mental skills, and the other strength coaches and the athletic trainers. And it's a skill that really needs to be developed, and it's something that is really important. And ultimately, you guys both hit on it. Like, we're here to get the players better and to give them the best chance to succeed. And like you said, Nate, if there's no communication or the communication's poor, like it's just a disservice to the athletes, and they're not going to get the most out of their opportunities here. They're just not, like, and a lot of that falls on us, and that's okay. And we have to understand that, but we also have to like get better at that too. So I appreciate you guys giving a look in on your first year, and it'll be awesome to follow your paths and just see where you guys end up. And, hopefully pro ball treats you as well as it's treated me over the years, and you guys have a long career. And we'll definitely do more of these in the future as you guys, get more comfortable, get more experience under your belt. And in the meantime, I appreciate it. Stay safe, enjoy your off season, and we'll talk soon, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having us on.
Thanks, Chris. We'll see you soon.
All right, everybody, that's going to conclude our episode with Donnie and Nate. I hope you enjoyed this one. I really like having these conversations with the young strength coaches in professional baseball, not just for the fact that it can shed some light on the ins and outs of the game and the job and everything for potential strength and conditioning coaches for the future, but also for the older coaches who have been around a little while. It's good to just take a step back and really reflect on our own past and where we were and where we came from, and just see what's being asked of these strength coaches nowadays versus when some of the older strength coaches were around for the first time. So like I said, I think these kind of conversations are really cool, and it's also good to follow their path and see where they are in the next 5 to 10 years, and if they stick around in professional baseball, make it to the big leagues, or if they end up pursuing other opportunities. 3 things that I took from the guys in this episode: be present and focus on doing a great job where you're at. A good way to be successful in professional baseball is to expect the unexpected, and getting out of your comfort zone around players may help with creating buy-in. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll talk to you again on the next one.